So I'm going to do something very different for today's video. Now, I'm sure many of you guys were looking forward to seeing the QN506, or as I would have called it, Mao's little Terminator. But unfortunately, this isn't something you're really going to see from me, at least not in the normal fashion as you would find here on my channel. And the reason is very simple. This vehicle is incredibly difficult to play, and that's not something I like to easily admit to my community, seeing that I like to pride myself in being a very good player for the most part. The little BMP-T bootleg, whatever you want to go ahead and call it, it's just not good. I don't really mean to not sell it to you guys. I don't really want to say it's a terrible vehicle because that might be a bit of a stretch, but when it comes to the performance, the raw performance of this vehicle, it just really isn't there, at least not yet. Let me go into some of the details about the vehicle. It's the first one to ever feature a fire and forget system for tanks. Now, of course, we've had it with the UHT, and I think that's the only one that really has that. Maybe guided systems where with the Panzer or the Tor, where you can kind of forget about it, but not really. This one is a true fire and forget system, although if you are familiar with the UHT, this is very much the same situation as that, where it works very good when it does, but fails spectacularly when it does not. Let me go a little bit more into detail about that. When it comes to the UHT, the first system to ever introduce fire and forget missiles back in, what, 2020, I think it was? Maybe a little bit after that. It was broken. It was OP as all hell, and I think many of you guys have been playing around that time can attest to that, right? Maybe not as much as the K-50 or 52's Vickers missiles, but for the most part, it brought in a brand new system into the game at the time when it just wasn't ready for it. Fast forward a couple of years, you have this missile platform, which is called the, it's a long name too, the QN502CDD. I don't know if that's the actual name for it, but there it is. The specs on it are as well follows. It goes up to 20 kilometers, at least lock range, 205 meters a second maximum speed, which is very, very slow, and can penetrate up to 1,000 millimeters of armor. This does act as a top-down system where it launches, it flies up, and it comes down like a javelin, spike missile, etc. And depending on the situation, it can also fire in a more direct mode. Now, the problem with this system is that the lock-on is very, very finicky, to say the absolute least. And knowing how missiles play, or at least heat rounds play in War Thunder, they're not exactly the absolute best. Not like you would find in the real world, with real world examples happening even right now. I won't go into detail about it, but many of you guys should know what I'm talking about. And the missile just doesn't perform as well as I'd like it to, which is not necessarily a bad thing, seeing that it is, again, a fire and forget system, which means that it can't be too OP, which again makes a ton of sense. Now, when it comes to the 70 millimeter rockets, I think are the ATGMs, those aren't too bad, right? You get 20 of them, 200 millimeter base pen. It's not the greatest. It's not the absolute worst. You can only guide one of them at a single time. The rest just kind of go straight and just are dumb, if that makes sense. Like normal rockets, right? It can be fun. And to pair it with a good system that has, of course, laser warning system, paired with a laser rangefinder Gen 2 thermal sights, 30 millimeter APFSDS, which is the same one I believe found on the BMP-2M, except it has a lower rate of fire similar to that of the BMD-4. And when it comes to the protection of the vehicle, of course, it's a T-55 or a Type 59 chassis, which means it's not fast, right? 50 kilometers. Its armor is the same as you would find with that, except very thin on the turret face. But it is a crewless turret, and it does feature some what feels like Contact 5 ERA or FY4, I think is a better way to go about it. So the mobility on it isn't the absolute best, noise protection, etc. And going back to the gun itself, you do have infrared search and track or optical tracking for the gun, which you can use against low-flying aircraft. Carrying a total of 200 rounds, 100 rounds of AP and HE really makes for some very limited engagements. And to top it all off, you do have the scouting ability. I don't think it's going to stay for very long, but I'm pretty sure it is. Which means that this thing can act like any other light tank, but with a higher profile. Oh, and if I didn't already mention, Gen 2 thermal sights for the commander and the gunner, which is very nice for the most part. Good vertical targeting, stabilized. It's a good vehicle overall on paper. But when it comes to the performance of this vehicle in the actual game itself, that's where things get very, very iffy. 9.7. It's very slow. Its armor means nothing. Its ammunition is very limited. If you know how to play with a BMP, you can kind of get away with it. 250 rounds, I think it is, of APFSDS, which isn't terrible. High rate of fire, which makes up for a lot. And also the tandem warheads, the Coronet missiles, I think it is, that you can fire from it on the move. And they're direct, and they do a very good job. This one requires you to have a consistent lock-on before you can fire it, and then just forget about it, assuming the enemy doesn't see it coming. They don't pop smoke. They don't hide behind cover or anything for that matter, because those missiles will fail spectacularly. And let's not forget about gun depression. -5, but plus 52, which is very nice. Now, again, going back to the performance of the thing, I tried. No, I'm not even kidding, dude. I tried to use this thing as best as I can. The missiles are gimmicky, meaning that you have to be in a very specific situation to use them. The firepower is good for what it is, but not enough, I would say, even with the rockets, to really counter whatever you're looking at. At least when it comes to being efficient in destroying your target, this vehicle just really isn't it. And I can go on and on about how this is a good or a bad vehicle, or if it's worth it or if it's not, which we'll get to in a second. But I just can't make it work as best as I could. I'm sure there's going to be other tubers out there, other streamers that make this thing, but everyone I've spoken to so far has told me the same thing. It's kind of iffy, and I believe this is what I would like to call a low-intensity vehicle, which does mean that this thing can work out in, I would say, the mid to late game environment, as opposed to an early game one, especially using my current playstyle, which is being very aggressive, very forward, and very in your face. This vehicle is just not it at times. In fact, 90% of the time. The upside of this vehicle, it has amazing missiles that can track helicopters. Now, helicopters are the bane of 9.7. These things outrange Stinger missiles and Mistrals, Eaglas, Strela, whatever. This thing can engage helicopters. I mean, I already have clips right here. I'll show you this one right here. Oh, hey, check this out. Yes, come here. You're getting a missile. Okay, you're not getting a missile. Give me a second. You're getting a missile. And you're getting a missile. Although he sent a Hellfire at me, so I got 2 missiles out. 1 for each. It's gonna take a long time for them to get there, so jump cut time. Ooh, there's 1. I think the second one may have dodged it. Yeah, that took a second for it to get there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the second missile, he must have dodged it. No, he got him too! Oh, snap. That was so good. That was really satisfying. Helicopter. Oh, is that a helicopter? Oh. Let's see what that does. Let's see what that does. Is it gonna get him? There's the Hellfire. There's the missile. Oh, he just dodged it. Oh, he just dodged it. Okay. No, we got him. What's the point of using SAM systems at this point? Just for real. Isn't that insane? I don't think this is going to stick, to be honest. I think Gaijin's going to nerf that at some point. But that's probably one of the biggest benefits of this thing, is you can engage helicopters and low-flying aircraft with relative ease, which makes for a wonderful time. But when it comes to the overall performance of this thing, it's just not there. I know, I sound like the defeatist here, but I'm just being very honest with you guys. I was excited. I still am. I still want Gaijin to make this thing great and all. Maybe reduce it to PR or something. But I can't recommend this thing. I really can't. And then you also have the aircraft, which was the A7K at 11.0. It makes no sense to me. I'm a tanker, so I can't have a very good solid opinion on that. But that makes no sense. But this, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to get it. I'm still going to grind my butt off for it because I want it as a collector's piece. But it's not really something that I'm going to be using unless I'm in a very specific situation to reinforce my 9.7s, such as my 96 AP or something, or I'm going to be using it as a reinforcement for top tier during those mid to late game engagements where this thing may just excel at, but even more so against helicopters without missile approach warning. But I'm sorry, I really am. I know I'm disappointing a lot of you guys by not giving you the normal gameplay about this, but I just can't do it. And I feel kind of ashamed of myself for not being able to do it. But you know what? I want to know, what do you guys think about this? When you get this, come back to the video, drop a comment, let me know what it is. Go over to my Twitter, my Discord, wherever. Tag me and tell me what you think about it when you get it. Maybe it is a skill issue on my part. Maybe it's just me needing to get better at it. Who knows? I'm pretty sure it's the latter, but for the time being, this was an overhyped vehicle in my book, to which I am very disappointed it turned out the way it did. But at the same time, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the Terminator, when it comes in, this will lower my expectation for the true BMP-T, which we will be getting in the near future, or so the hope goes. But who knows? Maybe when you get this thing, you can prove me different. Hell, if they change this thing up a little bit, make it maybe lower PR or something, I'll come back to this. I'll make a raw video and just, we'll have fun with it. Absolutely. And I'll give you my honest opinion. But right now, as it currently stands, I don't recommend it. If you're looking for a very efficient vehicle, it just really isn't it. I'm not saying don't do the events. I'm not saying don't continue grinding, getting your parts, etc. But lower your expectations for this vehicle. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you did enjoy this talking head. If you want to see the gameplay live, I do stream over on Twitch, by the way, which there is Twitch drops going on, which means you'll be seeing me there a lot. Maybe not so much this coming weekend, seeing that it is more personal things happening for that. But keep an eye out for the streams for sure, as I will be doing a lot of those Twitch drops for you guys. Here is the whole lineup. If you guys want to go ahead and check that out, it's awesome. I'm collecting these decals myself as well. So yeah, anyways, thank you again. I will see you not only in the next video or even the streams, but maybe in my vain attempts to play this thing. I'll see you next time.